Hey everyone, and welcome back to my Lilac Hill. Brittney here with you today. It has been a crazy few weeks. I actually meant to get the next several videos out about 3 weeks ago, and my son got sick, and then I got sick, and I'm just now finally getting caught back up on everything that fell behind while we were sick. So what I'm doing today, I'd rather get it out late than just not post the video. But today I'm gonna try and get 3 different videos filmed and out on the channel. So we'll see, they may not all get posted today, but I do wanna get them all filmed today. This video that you're about to watch is basically the review of 2022 and all of the things that we did and accomplished in 2022. And then subsequently we will have a 2023 goals video. So stay tuned for that, but go ahead and grab a cup of coffee or tea or water and let's get into everything that happened in 2022. So really the biggest thing that happened in 2022 is that Miles, my son, and I moved to a new farm. It's kind of interesting how this farm came to be. So my friend and her husband and their children lived here and rented for, I don't know, 3, maybe 4 years or so. And then they finally saved up and found a house that they wanted to buy, and they were moving out of this house right at the same time that I was looking to move from my previous house. And she reached out to me and just said, hey, what would you think about maybe living here? And I was obviously all for it. And so she said, well, I don't really know, what all is going on with this after we move out, but I'll reach out to the landlord and see kind of, what his thoughts are on that. Ended up being that he didn't have anybody really lined up yet. He had maybe somebody that was interested, but he hadn't finalized anything. So I reached out, I filled out the application, and ended up, I was the one that was selected for this house. And so of course I was super excited because not only did it save me a lot of money, this house is much more affordable to rent than where I was previously living, but this is like my dream. It's out in the country, it's got a long gravel driveway, so it's private and Miles can run around and play, and I don't have to worry about a car coming or hitting him. We are surrounded by about 150 acres, so it's very peaceful, it's very quiet, it's beautiful. The views here are incredible. And really it just felt like the fresh start that my son and I both needed. We had a really, really rocky 2021. I won't get into the details on here about that, but it was an awful year, and with getting accepted to rent this property, it just felt like the fresh start that we both deserved, and I just couldn't be happier to be out here. We had an amazing garden year for the first year of gardening. My friend had gardened in the same spot that I chose to put my garden, so I knew it was a pretty decent spot already, but I had never gardened in there, so there was obviously some learning curves associated with gardening in a new space, but overall it went really well, especially considering I was a single mom and working full-time and trying to garden. It's just me and my son that live here, so we didn't really have any help or anything with it. Some help on occasion, I'll get into that here in a little bit, but basically it was just me. And so I think it did really well for the first year, and I'm super thrilled with what we were able to harvest. Now, I didn't get a full pantry stocked. That was just something I ran out of time and did not get accomplished, but I was really using 2022 as a way of kind of resetting and just taking a breather after a really rough year in 2021. And so it really wasn't my goal in 2022 to put up a year's worth of food by any means. I just wanted to enjoy gardening and find peace. And that's what we found here at this property. And I couldn't be more excited about that. Another great benefit of this house, like I said, it's much more affordable. So I was actually able to cut my monthly expenses in half. By the end of 2022, I really focused all of 2022 on paying down a lot of debt and some things that I had accumulated financially in 2021. Was able to get that paid down in 2022, and with my rent being significantly cheaper than where I was previously, I essentially cut my monthly expenses in half. And that was a huge goal of mine and something I'm super proud of all the work that I put into doing that. And I am so just thankful that I had that opportunity, because there is nothing like being stressed for money. And now I'm not. And so that was something that is great. I'm not saying I'm rich by any means, but I don't have to stress about how I'm gonna pay bills. And that has been such a weight lifted off of me that I'm just so thankful that this property was even available it's just an act of God, how everything lined out and the timing of it all. I just can't explain it other than it was the help that I needed. And I'm so thankful for that. And with that, I kind of touched on it a little bit already, but so my friend and her husband lived in this house before I moved here. She and I met in college and became very close very quickly and stayed in touch over the years. And when we graduated high school, she actually moved out of the country with her husband, followed him when he was finishing up his schooling. And then when they came back, we started kind of getting in contact again and hanging out. And so it was just kind of surreal looking back on how everything played out. But I had been to this property to hang out with her a couple of times. I knew it was beautiful. I had never met the landlord or anything like that while she was living here. But, I told her at one point in time, man, it would be great to live out here. And she always talked about how much she loved living here and how perfect it was for her family, and it was exactly what they needed at that time. And so when she asked me, she told me she was moving, they bought a house, and of course I was super excited for her. And then she followed that up with, are you still wanting to move? And so then of course I got really excited about this house, and I came out to meet the landlord one day with my dad, just to I had been to the property and I had been in her house, but I had never paid attention from the perspective of, I might live here, so I need to kind of look at things and see if it's somewhere I want to live. So we did that. My dad and I came out and met the landlord and toured the house and everything before we filled out the application, or I think it might have been after the application, but before I actually wrote him the first check and decided that yes, I did want to move in here. And it's so funny looking back on it, but I thought the landlord was a very nice guy. He and his dad were both out here. They farmed together. And so I got to meet both of them. They were incredibly kind and respectful. And I just instantly felt like I was at home. And I had not felt that in a long time. And so I just knew that I was meant to be here. And after living here for a couple of weeks, there's a church up the road, and I had been wanting to start going back to church for almost a year at this point. I have not been to church in several years. I used to go when I was younger, and then in my mid-20s, I kind of went through a period of time where I didn't really believe. It wasn't that I didn't really believe. I would tell myself, if there was a God, none of these certain things that were happening to me would not happen. And I stepped out of my faith for a few years, and really 2021 was what brought me back. It was, again, I don't want to go into the details of it, but it was a terrible year for us, and it was just very eye-opening, and I did a lot of self-reflection, and I dug back into the Word and was doing some studies and working on myself. And I had decided that when we got settled in to this new house, I wanted to start going back to church. And conveniently enough, about half a mile up, probably about a mile from my house, there's a Baptist church. And it looked like the perfect little church for us, small, country, old-fashioned. Nothing against people who enjoy this type of church, but for me personally, I don't enjoy the big, like really big, massive churches and like the lighting and the concert style. That's just not for me. I really, really like a very small, old-fashioned traditional church. And this church just looked like the perfect church for me. And I actually reached out to my landlord at this time, and I knew he went to church somewhere in this area, but I wasn't sure where. And I asked him if he didn't mind me asking what church he went to. And he actually said that it was this church right here up the road. And he talked to me a little bit about how they were set up. And I decided that next Sunday I was going to go to church for the first time. And other than a couple of times of being sick or Miles being sick, I have not missed a Sunday since we started going. I try to go every single week. And now actually I help Kyle, the landlord, I help his sisters teach Sunday school class there, and that church has just become a huge part of my life. I've met a lot of really good people that I now consider family, and it just really has been a huge part of my life this past year, and I'm so thankful to have had that opportunity to start going there and to meet everybody there. And I know I keep mentioning my landlord. I'm going to get to the point of things, I promise. But after a couple of months of going to church, of course, my landlord goes there. He's actually the worship leader there at church. And so, I would talk with him after church some, and his family, and found out we have a lot in common. And when I say a lot in common, like nobody my age has this much in common with me, and never has. We read a lot of the same books. We have a lot of the same outlooks on life and child raising, and we just found out that we had a lot in common. And it was about, I don't know, end of February, first part of March, where I was like, oh, great, I have a crush on my landlord. This is not gonna go well. Well, it turns out he had the same feelings, and in May of 2022, we started dating, and very quickly fell in love with each other. It was everything just lined up so perfectly, and it was just one of those things. I always kind of made fun of people who said, when you know, you know. But it just felt so right. And I have known from the very first time that I met him, and coming out to see this property and just feeling an overwhelming sense of peace and feeling like I was at home for the first time in well over a decade. I just knew that things were going to be better, that I had gone through this really difficult time in 2021, but things are getting better. And so we started dating in May of 2022, and things have gone really well. He and Miles get along so incredibly well. I could not have asked for a better role model for my son. I do co-parent with Miles' dad, so I'm not trying to say anything negative about that, but it's just great that he has such a positive fatherly figure in his life as well. The more people that can be positive role models in a child's life and love that child and just be there for that child, I think is just ultimately the best thing for the child. So not to speak negatively about anybody, but just to really emphasize how much of a positive impact Kyle has had on my son. It's been so great to watch them interact with each other, and Miles just adores him, and he has so loved getting to grow up on a farm, and that was ultimately my childhood dream, to grow up on a farm. And I didn't ever grow up on a farm, but I got to the farm. I got here as quick as I could, and it has just been incredible. We had an amazing summer together, so many memories, and he got to ride on the tractors with Kyle several times and go check cows, and he has just loved being out here in the country and on a farm, and I have loved watching that for him. In addition to watching my son love being out here on the farm, my dog Murphy, which I got Murphy a couple of weeks before well, I guess you could say a couple of weeks before the bottom fell out in 2021, when everything kind of hit the fan and started going south. I had just gotten Murphy, and he really got me through a lot. He has just been such a great dog, and I felt bad when we lived in the city that he didn't have a fenced-in yard. He couldn't really run around. He was basically cooped up all day. And when we got to move out here and he gets to be an outside farm dog like he was meant to be, it has just made me so happy for him. And getting to watch him run around and be just be an Australian Shepherd like he was meant to be, it has just been incredible to watch. Looking back on every year of my life, 2022, I was the happiest I've ever been, at least in my adult life. And that was really kind of when all of my dreams have started kind of falling into place. Everything I've worked for the past 10 years is finally falling into place. And it has been really fun to watch. But also sometimes I feel like I'm an outsider looking in. I don't feel like this is my life sometimes. I'm so thankful that it is, because it's everything I've ever asked for. In 2022, I did also take a year off of YouTubing. I really didn't do a whole lot until like the end of 2022. I didn't post a lot on Instagram. I kind of stayed off of my Facebook group. Again, I just really was focused on growing myself, finding my peace, being as present with Miles as I possibly could, and boy did it pay off. But towards the end of 2022, after I had taken about a year of kind of really focusing on me, I was ready to get back into the swing of things and try to grow this business that I've been working towards. So I did start YouTubing again, and I've really been having a lot of fun with that. And I did get a little bit of TikTok going, and I still do work a full-time job, so that has been difficult to kind of balance everything. And I don't want to overwhelm myself, but when I have time and when I feel like doing it, it's really fun for me to put this content out there for you guys. And the main reason I do it is I want to document things for me and for my son and my family, and just it's fun to look back and see how much you've grown and how much you've done and improved upon, and the goals that you've met and accomplished. It's just fun to look at, but I really do hope that you guys enjoy this content as well. And I do have a lot of plans for more content to come, but in December, I did also transition to a different job. So I have always worked full-time, but for the past several years, I've worked full-time from home. And it's been a huge adjustment for me, because in December, I went back to working in an office setting. And when I worked from home, I had a morning break and an afternoon break, and then I had an hour-long lunch break. And I really used that time to focus on my business, get chores done in the house. And, sometimes I would take a walk on my lunch break and get outside and feel the sunshine. And I just had so much freedom and flexibility to be able to get other things done around the house that now I don't have working in an office. And it's been a huge adjustment. I'm not adjusted yet. I've been there for a little over a month, and I'm just not adjusted yet. I'm still very much feeling overwhelmed by everything that has to get done at the house, that I now don't have the same amount of time that I used to. But I'm not financially in a spot that my business can pay my full-time bills yet. I'm very close, but I'm just not there yet. So this is just what it is. I've just got to stick this job out, and just keep working towards all the other goals. And hopefully at some point, I'm not even going to set a time frame on it, because I don't know when that will be. But at some point, I hopefully will be self-sufficient enough that my business will provide what we need it to, and I won't have to work 45 hours a week in an office and not be at home to be able to garden and do all of the things that I want to do. But I'm sure so many of you can relate to that. It's just, sometimes you just got to do what you got to do, and it's not always fun and it's not always exciting, but you just know that that's what you have to do right now, and just keep working towards what you want for your life. And so that's kind of where I'm at right now. I'm just continuing to do the very best I can. Every day is a new day, and I try to get as much done as I can. But like the last 3 weeks with my son being sick and me being sick, I just said, okay, we just need to rest. This is just our sign that we're pushing too hard. We need to take a step back and rest for a couple weeks and then get back at it. So that's what I did. You can probably kind of hear in my voice, and I'm sorry if it sounds bad, but I'm still recovering. It's been like 2 weeks and I still don't feel 100%, but I am okay. I'm getting better, and hopefully here in the next several days I'll have my actual voice back. But I definitely wanted to put these videos out. I'm excited about it. I'm excited to tell you all of the things that I did in 2022. But I'm even more excited to tell you about everything that is in store for 2023. So I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this video up here and get it edited and out for you guys so that you can catch up on what 2022 was able to do for us. And then I'm gonna go ahead and just start filming the 2023 goals and what you can expect to see on the channel in 2023, because I'm so excited for it. So I hope that you liked this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up, and please stick around for the next video, which will be what to expect in 2023. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you in the next video.